So setup-wise, we talk about the grip, getting the club face control. Okay, you can see how much your hand hasn't really moved that much. Just at the angle of that sort of top half of the glove there, we can just see a bit more of the back part of the Velcro strap. It's moved from kind of there to there. It feels huge in terms of change, but minimal in terms of how far we've gone. And again, your left thumb, you were talking about there, where your left thumb needs to go. It can just sort of sit there with the forefinger. It hasn't got to sort of go to the side there. And again, the same with that trigger finger underneath here. You can sit there. There's a bit of gap there. Not a problem at all. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of the swing issue in terms of your start position, okay? What we're trying to get you out of now, okay, when you're swinging the golf club, top of the back is pretty good. Your focus point initially was to try and rotate these hips, okay? Yeah. Yes, the hips are going to rotate. There needs to be a little bit of movement this way to start with. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to get so far on your back foot and just basically pull hook it high left. I think a lot of that movement's kind of stemmed from the fact you try to fight the ball going way off to the right there. So if we watch your lower half movement here now as you swing through, you can see your left hip comes going back up and away. Your left leg impact here now is leaning backwards, There's a backwards lean there, okay? So your hips are going to spun out the way. Your launch angle was up to sort of 25 to 30, losing distance, losing any sort of direction, ball going way left. And when you finish, we finished nicely here, but you kind of, exactly. Yeah. So we say in terms of the movement after, I mean, your hips are kind of at impact here at 7.76 on the sort of clock there. Your left hip needs to be a bit more kind of there at 8.13, so it's only half a second behind. It seems massive in terms of how far that club's got to travel to get to there. That's how far off you are, but it's split seconds, okay? So the drill we talked about there in terms of the movement, this is the full swing we did, okay? Get to the top of the backswing and almost feel your hips kind of bumping a bit to the left. Now what you'll find, now your leg kind of straightens a bit rather than your hips moving to the left. Now impact though, your left leg now I would say is a little bit more vertical. So it's started to move a little bit more this way, okay, to the left-hand side. Your left hip now has gone a bit left of that blue line there, okay, as you're twisting through, and you're finishing a bit more on the left side. We don't want to be leaning the top up too much, excuse me. It's more the hip movement rather than the shoulders, okay? Because what you were kind of doing, when the hips kind of go from here and do this, okay, it opens up your shoulders so your path goes a long way left. What we're trying to do is get your hips to sort of shift and laterally move this way, so the club now starts working the target. If you just do this with the left hip and sort of lock that left leg back, as you can see on the camera there, or use your shoulders first, or you try to twist your hips too far too quick, the club's going left of target, steeper as you come down, bottoms out early, it's high left or the sky. And the one you're at the top of the club there where you're roofing it is where you're basically coming down this way, okay? You either do that or you do that, both of which cause your chest to kind of point down this way to the left rather than this way, And the difference in my chest position is more to the right there, and that's going to bring my arms into a position where it's going to be a lot shallower, and I can square that club face up. Pretty much a way, I'm sure, if you ever played any racket sports, even playing rugby or whatever, you would throw a ball kind of from here, you would hit a tennis racket kind of from here. You wouldn't want your chest and torso to be moving bottom out low left. So at the point of contact, as you're hitting the golf ball, we want to feel this left hip now is kind of forward a little bit. The left hip can sort of slide this way and the chest kind of back this way as your arms are kind of swinging past your body. But I think almost the fear, well, not the fear, but the desperation from your point of view, as you said, of the ball going high right, you've done whatever you possibly can to just send it left. And most of the time that's going to come from hips twisting. And you said, I got the ball going non-right by going just way left and my hips twisting this way. Well, your path are just going that way. We've got to get your hips to start working this way. So if you look at my head on the ground there, so my head's staying fairly stable there, what you would tend to get a little bit of this motion going on, okay? That's just simply almost practice with body movement, okay? So your hips from here now, as you're at the top of the backswing, this way. You're just going to feel that kind of shift now. There, exactly, there you go. And that's what we sort of see. So when that does that, do that again there, that sort of, this hip slide, this now gets further away from that, What you would do is sort of twisting this back as you come through, this now gets on top of your leg, and then you're exactly, And that's just purely feel and practice, obviously, knowing what that feeling should look like. So I would suggest potentially, in terms of practice, if you're coming on here on the golf course, probably more, well, in fact you do with all the clubs, more so with like 7, 8, 9 iron wedge, okay? Make your normal setup there with the grip as we showed you, okay? Swing to there, 1, 2, 3. And when you're doing this here, what you're trying to do is get your left hip to move more towards kind of the outside edge of your left foot. It can move, and I'll be honest, it can move too far. If you sort of slide and go on the outside of your foot, then you've rolled over to, then you've lost your balance and you've fallen forward, okay? But if it goes this way, and that's moving up and out the way too quickly, it's going to change your path to go to exit left. Okay, and then depending on what the club faces do, it's either a straight left pull or a big slice right. And invariably, when you're on your back foot doing this, it's a very high shot. So you're losing yardage left, right, and centre. I mean, the drivers, I mean, your height, your club head speed, 240 with the driver, easy. Okay.
Was it in the ball further as a kid, really?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Exactly.
And a lot of that comes from the fact that when you're maybe not as strong as you are as a kid, some of the movements you're putting into it now you couldn't physically do. You sort of stood there, and because you weren't maybe trying to fight a ball going one way or the other, because you weren't thinking about it, you just played regularly up the golf course most days, whacking the ball around. You kind of just figured out a movement that works. And when you don't play so much, you see a ball going this way, and you sort of, okay, right, I'll try everything. And you YouTube, you Google, you ask your friends, you make start. And the more knowledge we have sometimes, the worse we get, because we just start thinking too much. So to summarise quickly into your position, okay, left hand grip better. It doesn't feel natural yet, but over time it will start feeling more and more natural. After it's basically the natural hang of your left hand here, doing that. It's not going this way, okay? So once he's on the club better, your thumb and forefinger, just creating that little V up towards sort of the right shoulder. Once you've got that there now, get the sensation of where your lower half is moving. You were right in some ways diagnosing the hips the problem, but the cure you were giving was more kind of rotation rather than actually getting that bump first. Yes, they are going to rotate. I'd be very surprised if you ever start going and doing that, you probably pop your hip out if you're not careful. So they are going to twist, okay? But once the hips start going this way first, you can see my head now kind of staying in a fairly stable position, but the hips moving laterally and the arms coming down this way is going to change that path into the ball, change your angle of attack. Once the hips start rotating too early, you're across it. Or if you try and do this with your torso, it's your left hip you're trying to get towards target, not your left shoulder or your right knee. Okay? That kind of makes sense, I understand that sort of thing? Okay, cool.